But pick a city, any city, and just pay attention to what this conscious process is like. Now, the first thing to notice about this is as free a decision as you are ever going to make in your life. Okay, you have all the cities in the world to choose from, and I'm just asking you to pick one. Now, several cities have probably occurred to you, and just focus on one. So everybody got a city? Well, I'm sorry to say that you all picked the wrong city. Don't ask me how I know this, but I do. So I just want you to do this again, just so you can see what the process is like. Pick another city, can't be the first, and notice what that experience is like. Okay, did you see any evidence for free will? Now, we better be able to find it here. I mean, if it's not here, it's not anywhere. So let's look for it. First, let's set aside all those cities whose names you don't know and therefore could not have picked. Okay, because you couldn't have picked one of those if your life depended on it. There's no freedom in that, obviously.
Okay, this is the first problem. He hasn't thought through, he's wrote a whole book about it, but it seems he hasn't thought through this well enough. And now, what are we talking about? This brings me to the definition. I've given definitions many times. You've seen me define it in a debate. If you've seen my debates on the issue. What are we talking about? Now, it is important to nail down what the issue is, and that is a matter of defining what we're really talking about. You can define free will in ways that are not really what we're trying to debate. But I think the best definition of free will is a more technical definition, I guess. But it's the ability to choose without prior or external causation. Now that sounds fancy. It just means nothing is necessitating your choice. Another way to say it is that you are the original cause of your choice. Nothing else causes your choice. Now, what happens a lot of times, this is happening here, and it's going to continue to happen with Sam Harris, but it also happens with my Calvinist friends, whom I love. They will conflate other concepts with the freedom to choose, or being the cause of your choice. They will conflate that with other things. There's a lot of conflations. A conflation is when you mix two or more things up together. You think one thing is really another. You're mixing up things. So, for example, with my atheist friends, and not my atheist friends, and my Calvinist friends, a lot of times, this is a response I've gotten oftentimes, when I say we are the original cause of our choice, they say, oh, so you created your will. So you don't believe God creates the will. That's a conflation. You're conflating the cause of the choice with the cause of your will. In other words, and when I say will, I don't mean your intentions or desires. I mean the having the will, the faculty that is called your will. God causes that. He gives you your mind. He gives you your existence. Obviously, He causes you to exist and to have a will. But what we're talking about, does He give you the freedom to choose? That's what a will is, by the way. If He doesn't give you the freedom to choose, you don't really have a will. Because whatever you will, if you don't have the freedom to will, then that's just His will. But I digress. We're going to see this in a call later when I'm talking to a Calvinist, Matt Hagen, on the phone call, and this happens a lot, where he conflates influences with causes. Well, you got all kinds of influences, they'll say all the time. Yes, we're not talking about influences. We're not talking about what motivates you to choose. We're talking about what causes your choice. And what causes your choices? In reality, it's you. You are the cause of your choices. Your reasons don't cause them. They are just the motivation behind your choices. And your influences don't cause your choices. You cause your choices. So freedom of the will is the freedom to choose without something else necessitating your choosing. In other words, it's up to you. Okay, that's the layman's way to describe it that I think everybody recognizes. It's up to you. So a lot of times what happens with the errors of people who deny free will is that they're misdefining it, or they're defining it in ways that we're not even debating. And that's exactly what he's doing here. Now let's back it up a bit and listen to him, and then we'll critique it.
We don't know, and therefore could not have picked. So let's look for it. We better be able to find it here. I mean, if it's not here, it's not anywhere. So let's look for it. First, let's set aside all those cities whose names you don't know and therefore could not have picked. Okay, because you couldn't have picked one of those if your life depended on it. There's no freedom in that, obviously.
Well, that's not the freedom to will. So when we're talking about free will, we're talking about whether your choice is free, not whether you have the freedom to choose things that you do not know. That's not what we're debating. Nobody denies it in the first place. This is all kinds of things. There's a straw man idea here. This is what do you call it? It's escaping me. A bait and switch. A bait and switch. See, the freedom of the will is not the freedom to attain a knowledge of things that you don't have or to know what you don't know. It's not the ability to freely know everything or to know things that you haven't learned. It's not the freedom to know, in other words. It's the freedom to choose. Now, everybody understands that you choose between things that you know. And all that is required for free will is that the choice of the things that you knew, between the things that you know, was free. Not whether you can choose something you don't know about. That's not what we're talking about. So in other words, it's a bait and switch. This is a limitation on your knowledge. Now, this is similar to a lot of times when this comes up. People will say, well, you don't have the freedom to flap your arms and fly away. James White, in my debate with him, also mentioned that. That's in regard to the freedom of your abilities. That's a limitation of your abilities. Now, actually, you can will to, you can have the desire. Now, there is a difference between desire and choice, but I'm just saying, for example, if I'm standing on a building top and I think that I can jump off, flap my arms, and fly away, if I believe that's true, I can then choose to do it. Now, I'm not going to fly, I'm going to plummet. But I still chose to do it. I just wasn't able to carry out my choice. There's a difference between one's ability and one's choices. You understand that? As some have said, what if I wake up one morning, and this happened to me a lot when I was a kid, I was sleeping on my arm, and the feeling in it was completely gone. I wasn't able to move it. Well, let's say you wake up one day, your arm is completely numb because you slept on it. You don't realize it for a few seconds. And then you go to reach up and turn off the alarm clock. But you don't realize that you got no feeling in your arm because you've been sleeping on it. So you will make the choice to reach up with that arm and turn off the alarm clock, but you will not be able to do it. So you see, there is a difference between your choice to do something and your ability to exercise the choice. In this example, you or I, whoever, chose to raise your arm and reach it out. You just weren't able to do it. Now, so what he's talking about here is not the freedom of the will, because I'll say it again, the freedom of the will regards a person's freedom to choose. All that is required to meet the definition of free will is that the choice that you make is free. Now, whatever city a person thinks of, and yes, they will only think about cities that they have knowledge of and can remember in the moment. But if whatever city they chose among those options, if it was free, then it was, well, free will. Not the freedom to know things you can't. That's not what we're talking about.
Okay. And then there are many other cities whose names are quite well known to you, but which simply didn't occur to you to pick. For instance, perhaps Cairo didn't occur to you. You absolutely know that Cairo is a city, but for whatever reason, your Cairo circuits were not engaged. Okay? As a matter of neurophysiology, Cairo was not in the cards. So I want you to think about this. Were you free to choose that which did not occur to you to choose?
But freedom to choose what does not occur to you to choose is not free will. Free will is whatever you do choose. In this case, it is, you are choosing between cities that you know. If the choice that you make is free, then that's free will. So he's he's doing a bait and switch. Still, yeah.
Based on the state of your brain a few moments ago, Cairo was not coming. Okay, where is the freedom in that?
The freedom, Dr. Sam Harris, is in whatever choice they did make. Now, granted, they made a choice between one, cities that they knew about, and two, what they could think about in the moment, what they could recall to their mind. But if the choice that they did make between those two options, or among those options, was free, then it would have been free will. So he didn't refute that. He refuted some other type of freedom that nobody's debating.
Of course, if you did think of Cairo, you should consider yourself a genius. Now, so you probably thought of several cities. And then let's say you thought of Paris and New York and Tokyo. And then you thought, I love Paris. I'm going to go with Paris. And the last minute you thought, no, Tokyo, I'll go with Tokyo. And now this is the sort of decision that motivates the idea of free will. You've got two or more choices, and you're picking between them, and it's just you and your thoughts. There's no coercion from the external world. You are doing it, apparently. But when you look closely, I think you'll find that you are in no position to know why you picked what you picked.
What did we do? See, what did we do there? I'm being tongue-in-cheek here. What did he do? What was the problem there? Can anybody else think about it in the side chat before I say it? I'll play it again. I want you to see what happens. And back it up.
So you probably thought of several cities. And then let's say you thought of Paris and New York and Tokyo. And then you thought, I love Paris. I'm going to go with Paris. And the last minute you thought, no, Tokyo, I'll go with Tokyo. And now this is the sort of decision that motivates the idea of free will. You've got two or more choices, and you're picking between them, and it's just you and your thoughts. There's no coercion from the external world. You are doing it, apparently. But when you look closely, I think you'll find that you are in no position to know why you picked what you picked. In this case, why?
What happened? You see, he shifted again. Now, he's not talking about the freedom to choose. He's talking about the motivation to choose. He's saying you don't always know, and in many cases it's true, you don't know why you choose what you choose. Well, whatever a person's motivation to choose, it doesn't mean it wasn't free. That's a different issue. And most of the time, I think a lot of times people will know why they choose what they chose. But even if you don't know, he's shifted from the freedom to choose between one's knowledge of why they chose. This conflates reasons, and this is what our Calvinist friends do a lot. You'll hear it and influences, Reasons, influences. The things that motivate your choices are not what cause your choice. I've said this so many times. Okay, you could have a reason to choose what you choose. Why did I choose to do my podcast on Saturday? Well, it's because I was busy in the other days of this week. That's my reason. But my reason does not make me do it on Saturday. I could have just said, I don't want to do it on Saturday because I'd rather do something else. I did have some other things I could have done. I could have mowed my lawn. So I did have a reason to do it on Saturday as opposed to the other days, or to do it. I got a variety of reasons coming in. I want to do the podcast because I want to provide material. And this day I had more time, but the reasons don't make me do it. They do not force the choice. What causes the choice? I cause the choice. I could have the reasons and still not do it. For example, this is also an example I give. I've heard it from others as well. If I'm fasting, for whatever reason, I've dedicated myself to God for some reason to fast, and on day 3, there it is, a ribeye steak. Someone says, here, AK, it's a free ribeye. Medium rare. The fat, it's got a great amount of fat, caramelized just perfectly, seasoned with Cavender's Greek seasoning, which I love. And here it is, right on a plate. It's fresh, just off of the beast in the backyard. Oh, man, I got all kinds of reasons to eat this steak. I haven't eaten in 3 days. I mean, give a man a break. It's a perfect cut. It's fresh from the beast. that it just came off of. So you know it's going to taste great. Great seasoning, great fat. I got all kinds of reasons to eat this steak. Despite the reasons, now the issue is, will I choose to eat it or will I not? You see, the reasons don't make the choice. I have to make the choice because I got alternative reasons. I'm fasting. I've already committed myself to fasting this day. My fasting doesn't end till tomorrow. And so I have to choose between reasons. Now, is there an influence on my will? Absolutely. Hunger is a pretty good influence, especially when you haven't eaten 3 days. Now, I know some people say, oh, I've gone longer than that. Okay, well, I'm just saying, the longer you go, the stronger the desire to eat. And that's an influence. Hunger is an influence. But I can still make the choice or not to eat. Influences do not cause your choices. You cause your choices. And what he's doing is he's talking about the motivation.